Hello! Hello everybody, it's Marnie Ginsberg and I'm here with my star student, a first grader who was with us yesterday. Today is day 2 of the Level Up Your Reader's Achievement in the Next 5 Days challenge. We're so glad you're here, and actually you're probably not yet here. We're just going live, and as you guys come in, I will give you a brief update about what's what, and then we'll get started with her second day of the activity that we're going to use all this week in this challenge to level up her reading achievement. So hello, if you're just coming in, I am Dr. Marnie Ginsberg of Reading Simplified, and our mission at Reading Simplified is to help classroom teachers streamline their reading instruction and accelerate their readers' achievement. And we're going to show you how one way you can do that this whole week in this 5-day challenge, and we're on day 2 today. You can level up your students' reading and save a lot of time through just one activity, which we call Switch It. I'm going to teach a little bit about Switch It, and then we're going to work together using Switch It. And you guys are doing Switch It with your students, maybe just one student for this week, so you learn it really well, figure out how to get instructional match for your student, and then accelerate them. Hi, Unique, we're glad you're here. Let me know, you guys, where you are and where you're from. I know some people might have missed the first day. We're glad you're here for day 2 of Level Up Your Reader's Achievement in the Next 5-Day Challenge. So let me know who's here, where you're from, what you teach. I know we did that yesterday, but everybody will be it'll be a new mix today. So welcome. Again, I'm Marnie Ginsberg from Reading Simplified, and you are in day 2 of the Level Up Your Reader's Achievement in the Next 5 Days Challenge. If you haven't joined yet, I encourage you to do that, and there is a link in this post to join up for free. And when you join up for free, you will get daily emails from me for 5 days, this is day 2, to help you understand how to do Switch It in an optimal way so you can accelerate your reader. You will also get access to a couple of sets of materials. One is the Switch It packet, Introduction to Switch It, and it has resources like word lists that we use in Switch It. There she is. And it has the directions or the procedures, and it has how to give feedback, which is really one of the most important elements of Switch It, because that's where you get your most acceleration for your students. And then you also may appreciate the letter sound cards. You don't have anything quite like this where one sound, even if it's 2 letters, is on one card or one tile. Then you might want to print this out on cardstock, cut it up, and get started real quickly with the activity. I don't recommend laminating it. You can always make new ones if you need to. Don't want anything to slow you down. We're all about Reading Simplified. Another way of doing it is just cutting up index cards real quick for the letter sounds that you need for the day. Okay, Dana, glad you're here. Hi. So, the other thing that you will get if you join for free in this Level Up Your Reader's Achievement in the Next 5-Day Challenge is an informal assessment that will help you decide which list to use. These are nonsense words. And it will also help you know how much your student has progressed across the course of the week. So my young friend here is doing really well in the 1st grade. She's actually reading at the 2nd grade level, so it's kind of hard for me to find a way to challenge her. But that is what I will be doing. I told you guys yesterday that if a student is at a different level, the activity would look very similar, but maybe I would give a lot less support. So if the student was down here on the continuum of decoding skill and sound symbol processing, the student might be here, but she's further along in the continuum. And so that's great because you can see what it looks like for a student further down the line who's at the 2nd grade or 3rd grade reading level. And if you want to know what it looks like for a student who's down here, maybe someone who doesn't know their letter sounds or who cannot phonemically manipulate even CVC words, then I encourage you to go to readingsimplified.com. That's my website, and at the very front you'll see a video, a 5-minute video of a student that I taught in a previous challenge, and he was a kindergarten student who started with only 6 letter sounds, and he could not segment CVC words. across the course of that 5-day challenge, he moved up all the way to CCVCC words and learned 17 letter sounds. So this activity cuts across all ages. I've used it with middle school students, high school students, and even a functionally illiterate adult. So you just increase the difficulty, and that's what I'm going to do today. If you haven't been here before, make sure you join up so you can get the free resources. And I'm going to give 2 short tips, and then we'll get straight into the Switch It demonstration, and then I hope to be able to answer your questions. Many of you probably assessed your students today and maybe even dove into your first Switch It lesson. So you may have questions, number 1, about which word list to go to, or what to do tomorrow if it's your first time, or how to interpret your student's first day at Switch It. Sometimes what happens is people are pretty surprised by how much their student knows with this activity. So welcome Rebecca and Roseanne. We're glad you're here. Ashley and Julie from North Carolina. I used to live there for 20 years. And Jennifer. Okay, when a kindergarten student, she asked, which list would you start with? Well, it's really much less about the grade or the age and more about the reading level, or the sub-skill level. So the 2 questions you ask, which you can get from this, this snapshot Informal Assessment, are how many letter sounds the student knows and which level of phonemic difficulty the student can manipulate. Can she manipulate or segment CBC words? If so, then go to the next word list. Does she not know any letter sounds? Then make sure she studies 2 letter sounds, which is what we're going to talk about today. Welcome, Lynn. So the 2 tips for today are, number 1, what does reading instruction typically look like in K2 reading classrooms or with intervention students? Well, I'm going to demonstrate it with this little metaphor. Often, what we're told to do is spend 10 minutes with letter sound knowledge, or maybe even letter names too. And then we're taught to spend 10 to 15 minutes on phonemic awareness. And then we're taught to spend some time with high frequency sight words. Then we're taught to spend some time with handwriting, taught to spend some time with, what else might we be taught with? A long list of things that they just keep adding to our list, and the curriculum is often overwhelming. And so if you keep stacking individual sub-skills like this, you come up with 10, 20, 40, 50 minutes of things that take you too much time. And the benefit of Switch It is that instead of needing to do all of this, you just need this one activity. Because what does Switch It do? It teaches the concept of the alphabetic principle. It teaches phonemic segmentation. It teaches phonemic manipulation. It teaches letter sound knowledge of consonants, consonant digraphs, and vowels, short vowels really well. And it teaches decoding, and it prepares the way for spelling. All of that is why Switch It can save you time and accelerate your reader. Because when this happens, not only does it waste your time stacking one thing on top of the other, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, it also sometimes doesn't make sense to some of our kids, right? You see that, you do something, and then later you expect to see transfer, and it doesn't happen because it's not integrated for the child. But when we integrate it, it will make more sense. So I think we should get started with Switch It, and while we're doing it, I'll be able to teach you the second tip of the day. Welcome, Lynn. I think I said hi, Kentucky. Jenna, welcome, Ontario. We're glad you're here. Can you put your book aside for a little while? She's doing some lovely artwork with butterflies. And I'm going to tilt the screen down a little bit so they can see what you're doing here. And Jennifer, I would love to come back to that question if I can't get to it now. So, well, yesterday, if you weren't here, my young friend just did so great. What I did with her was from the CVCC word list that you can find in our resources in the private Facebook group. And I also did the CCVC level word list. Again, she was a little slower at this because this is a harder level than this, but she still was pretty good, didn't need a lot of my help. So I want to jump to this level, CCVCC. But this word list doesn't have a lot of short E and short U, which I would like her to do, so I just made up a couple new lists. Welcome, Barbara. We're glad you're here. And so we're going to start. If I got all the letters here, let's build the word rips. Oh dear, that will, she rips her dress all the time. Tell me the sounds as you do it.
It.
Very nice. And the word is?
Rips.
Okay, now this is going to be tricky. You're going to need to add something. Switch it to drips, but you're going to have to add drips. Oh, she figured it out. Okay, tell me the sounds. Oh, but can you separate them? Good.
It.
What's this by itself? And the whole thing?
Drips.
Drips. The water drips and it's bothering me. Is it bothering you?
No.
Trips. Oh dear, she trips all the time. Trips. What are you going to switch? Oh, that's a little too easy for you. Tell me the sounds. By itself?
It. Trips.
Okay, now she's wanting to link the TR, sure, and that's eventually great. What she needs to do is to read her, but right now I want to make sure she's super strong with hearing each one separately. As a reading teacher for about 20 years, anytime I work with a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth grader who's struggling, guess what they say when they see a B? Well, a lot of times they'll say burr or bull, or they see a TR and they say t, because those are all scrambled in their brain. We want them to really understand that this is t, and this is and that we put them together, tr, to make tr. We don't want them to think of them as a unit. So if you have tiles where these two are on one tile, I recommend you not do that because that's not true to how our code works. It's actually two sounds. Okay, so now we're going to do the thing that is key for today's lesson called paired contrast, which I'll explain in a minute. Welcome, Heather, and we're glad you're here. Okay, trips, switch it to traps. We have a lot of mouse traps. And the word is?
Traps.
Traps. So what I had her do was switch in and out the vowels. And I thought it would trick her, but it didn't. She did great. And how many of you, when you teach like short I or short A, have a curriculum that will tell you to spend all week on short I words? Can I get a witness? That's how most of our curriculum are. Guess what happens to our kids, particularly our kids who are not doing as well as the rest of the class, when all week they do it. Well, actually, their brain kind of turns on. Yes, Pamela, that we keep the R blends separate because they're different. It's more than one sound. So these kids, what happens is they turn their brain off if everything is all day long. But if you go back and forth between two things or more than two things that are different, and you pair those and child has to contrast them, the brain is turned on. The brain cannot turn off. And that not only are we switching out vowels, but we're switching each position in the word, so she has to pay attention. And if you're new, yesterday I pointed out that notice I'm not doing the work, but my friend is, because I tell her what the new word is. I don't tell her which sound to switch out. So she has to figure out what to take in and take out. Okay, so let's go from traps. Ooh, this one may be a little harder. We're going to have to go off the board. Okay, it's the first time. Straps. I have two straps on my bathing suit. Straps. Tell me.
Straps.
Nice. Okay, I thought I would trip her up. Can I have a high five? What do we have here? We have a CCC, VCC word, but she did it. So that is great. I didn't even have to help her. But you know, if you've ever created these kinds of word lists, it's pretty tricky to go from straps to another real word. So I'm just going to move things out and start a new word. Okay? Let's start the word crest. Like the crest is the top of something. Crest. Can you say the sounds as you do it? And the word is?
Crest.
Crest. Okay, how about crust? Do you like pie crust? If you guys have any questions, let me know. Switch it to crust. And if you're just tuning in, you're in the middle of day 2 of the Level Up Your Reader's Achievement in the Next 5 Days challenge. And my friend here finally needs my help. I'm so excited that I get to do my job. So what she has is, let's see if you guys can see it. I asked her to make crust like pie crust. And what you did makes total sense. Let me show you what you did. You made crust. You hear it? Crust. We need crust. Oh, what's that sound? But this by itself? Very good. And what's each one? And the word is crust. Okay, so I wanted to get in the short U because on the initial testing she was a little wobbly on it, and that makes sense that she's going to have a little harder time here. And notice I've gone from I to A to U to E because moving those vowels in and out and having her to contrast them over and over will be what helps her to have them hook in her memory. In contrast, a lot of curricula have us spend all week on mop, hop, hot, and the brain of many children can turn off because there's nothing new. They're following a pattern of what the curriculum says instead of actually being challenged to think about what sound do they hear in the word. So it's their perception of sounds that this activity is developing, and their ability to process how sounds and symbols match up that will really serve her well for reading one-syllable words, but even more importantly, multi-syllable words. And then she'll also be an awesome speller if she gets really good at this. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay, so we're switching from crust to trust. I trust you. Trust. Oh, you need a T. We need more than one T, don't we? Sorry about that. Here we go. Trust. Tell me the sounds. And the word is trust. Trust. Okay, now we're going to have 2 switches. This is a level up. Okay, you think you can do it? Okay, thrust. I thrust the sword into its sheath, which is like its holder. Thrust. Actually, it's not 2 switches. I misspoke. Look at the teacher. Even she sometimes needs some help. So you made thust. I was wrong, and so I threw you off. We don't need 2 switches. We just needed 1. Silly me. Now let's see if you got it. What is this? And the word is thrust. Okay, you just did great. Do you guys have any questions for me, or do you want to give her some thumbs up? I think she's really awesome. So we took it up a slight level with her today, but she's still doing well. I only had to help her really with the difference, and her having to contrast them was going to help her to learn that. And then I helped just a smidgen with the and thrust. And of course, thrust is a harder word, so she probably doesn't use that very often. No, okay. So let's see if anybody's writing anything. Okay. I think you did great. We've moved her up from CVCC to then yesterday, CCVC, and then a little bit of CCVC and C. And today we did 6 sounds occasionally, and we moved in lots of vowels. So her having to go back and forth with those short vowels was what is going to help her to become super automatic with them. So I hope you can come back tomorrow, and what we're going to do tomorrow is add in nonsense words. And I don't like to use that very often because usually kids don't need it because there's plenty of real words, but I can push her really hard because we can change plos to plant and plant to plod and plond and plond to plund and so on and so forth. So we're going to move it to really the highest level of switch it tomorrow, but I think you're up for it. Thank you for being here. Thanks for coloring my block. If you're just tuning in, that was our star student on day 2 of Level Up Your Reader's Achievement. We're in a challenge this week where we're trying to see how this one activity, switch it, can save us time instructionally and accelerate our students. So let me know if you had any questions, and so we can get you guys moving and get your students moving tomorrow. So Jennifer said that I meant that kindergarten students you were working with in the video. I assessed my students today and they know most consonants, very few vowels, and no consonant digraphs. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're talking about the kindergarten student in the last video. This young lady is in first grade. So I'm going to answer the second part of your question. And if you want to clarify, then I will explain further. So if your student, all you told me was about the letter sounds that they knew, and that's very helpful information, but also it's kind of important to know, can they segment CVC words at all? Maybe they can segment the beginning or the end, but if they can also segment the medial vowel, the middle vowel, some of the time, then don't do the CVC list. Go to the hardest level that they can handle, which would be, well, you'd start at a 4-sound word. The CVCC word list would be the easiest. Okay, so that's kind of the way you do your thinking, and I would probably pick 2 vowels to do. So like I said today, that you can, bye-bye, thank you. So you would choose 2 vowels so that going back and forth would make them really learn it a lot faster. I hope that helps, Jennifer. And Jennifer also asked, if she struggled with a list, would you still move on to the next list, or would you do a new version? Okay, struggle is kind of a relative term. If with your help and giving and using the giving feedback tips that are here in the introduction to Switch It packet, if she can be successful, then it's a great list to continue working on, or further down the list, or a comparable list. If even with your help she can't do it, then back up. But usually with some help and a lot of support, like if I had a child who was, you know, had rut and they just couldn't get it, and I would say, well, you have rut and we need rot, and I do this exaggeration. I say, look at my mouth when I say rut, and they still can't get it. Well, I'm not going to go up to the next level and add rust and so on. So we're going to stay at the CVC level, if that makes sense. But I would do different words. Okay, Ashley asked an excellent question. I encourage you guys for the challenge to think about doing it just one-on-one, 5 minutes a day, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, just so that you can get good at the strategy. And then the long-term goal is definitely to do it in small groups, because you can sort kids. These are the CVC kids, these are the CVCC kids, these are the kids with 5 letter sounds, and so you can work at each kid's level instead of thinking about them as a whole group, because then you're gonna very rarely get anybody's real need. And Jennifer says if they could segment CVC words on the phonemic awareness assessment but couldn't decode them. Okay, that's a great question. If they could segment on segment already, then you know for this activity they're ready to move up to the next level. So if they can't decode them, then you would use a different activity, which I call read it, and you can learn about that if you go to readingsimplified.com, and there's a Start Here button near the top, and there will be in that article a link to Read It, which is for decoding and blending the sounds together. But for Switch It, you're really going to be targeting their ability to manipulate sounds and to segment and maybe even learn more letter sounds. And so this is the foundation that will really support them to do reading or to do decoding. But don't let the fact they can't decode deter you from progressing in the word lists. In fact, what happens with Switch It, when you do good giving feedback support, they can do Switch It manipulating and segmenting up here, and their blending kind of trails behind for a while. And the Switch It that you're doing kind of brings the blending up. So if you push the Switch It level up, then you're kind of dragging up the blending. But you do have to work with the blending separately. But this week, this challenge, I'm just zeroing in on Switch It because of the power that it can give you. Okay, any other questions, you guys? Let me know. I'm here for a few more minutes just to help you figure out what is the best match for your kid and help you solve any quirks that you might have encountered. You're welcome, Jennifer. No problem. Okay, so the tip of the day was to do paired contrasts. In other words, don't just do one short vowel all week or even one letter sound for several days. The more you go back and forth between things, the more that the student's brain will be challenged. Don't just spend all day and several days on words, but mix it up. And you notice with Switch It, I move in every part of the word, and we're not just moving in and out the first sound over and over again. that would make the brain turn off, and it would not develop phonemic manipulation. And when a child has strong phonemic manipulation, then they're well prepared to be a good decoder. What do you guys do when you come across a strange, unfamiliar word that you don't know how to read? Say it's some kind of Russian name, and you look at it and you say, is this Dostoevsky or Dostoevsky? What did I just do? I tried one vowel, I didn't like it, so I pulled it out and I stuck in another vowel. That's phonemic manipulation. And we need it more and more as words get longer and longer. Those multisyllable words have vowels that can do crazy stuff. They're very unpredictable. And so we need to have this quick ability to play with sounds, try something new, and hear a word that makes sense. So that's why this is so important, and it cracks the code for kids so quickly. Lynn says she's really excited to see how this will help her one student who is very low and has not been progressing. You got the assessment done. Okay, great. And I'm not able to give you guys a certificate because I just don't know who's here and who's not here, and it's just no way for me to really check. But if I do a webinar in the future, maybe even this week, I'm not sure, I'll let you know. I can give a certificate out at the end of that webinar. That would be for an hour. So are there any more questions, you guys? Let me know. Comments or successes? Did anything surprise you with your kids? Because like I said, sometimes when teachers get into this, their kids are able to move further than they would have expected. Because remember, there is some support that you're giving. You're limiting the number of letter sounds. You're offering those lines of support. That's a visual support. Your words and your exaggeration and elongation is a support. Okay, Pamela asked a great question. Thank you. How do you do this quickly, or I can explain it quickly, how to do it with a child who doesn't know many letter sounds. Okay, let's see. First of all, with the CVC list, you would start with words that are continuant consonants. Okay, so I might, these are the letter sounds I had. I wouldn't probably pick these, but is at least a continuant consonant. So I might even start them with the word. Okay, so this is the word not. Okay, and I would probably have, you know, a couple more cards up here, but not too many. So reduce the number of cards you have. And then you would say, well, you have not, and I need you to switch it to rot. Like the food, if you leave it out, will rot. So I'm exaggerating and elongating, and my finger is also indicating where it goes. But kids will still make a mistake. So what happens first is that maybe the kid does this, and I say, well, first I want you to tell me what sound you hear that needs to be changed. You got the right sound, but first tell me what sound you hear. You got the right position, but first tell me what sound goes here, because I just want to know the sound. What sound do you hear at the beginning of rot? So first, identifying the sound is like the first step, and you break it up that way. So hopefully they can come up with rrr. If they don't, then you just exaggerate. You say, look at my mouth. What do you see? What do you hear right here when I say rot? And eventually kids will get that. Okay, then they say rrr. And then you say, which of these do you think is rrr? And hopefully they'll get it. And if they don't, that's fine, because this is more about getting the segmenting and the manipulating. So then you say, if they pull this down, well, actually that's this is rrr. So you just give them that information. The main thing that you're kind of drawing out of them is their ability to perceive sounds and to segment and to manipulate. So if a kid can't figure out where it goes, then I really try to, you know, scaffold the experience so they can figure it out. The sound, they can probably access that, at least the beginning sound and maybe the end. But then once they've said or articulated the sound, then we look and see which spelling it is. And so you are keeping the word lists and the sounds kind of small. Are you guys, am I here? I'm sorry, it just said that I went out. I'm so sorry. I hope that you can still see me, and I hope that that answered your question, Pamela. So it's just that you don't you don't expect them to know it and they just learn it in this context. So switching things in and out for 2 or 3 times, they're going to get a lot better at knowing n and er. And tomorrow you would do the same sounds, new words, and maybe add in another letter sound that would still help them to do the paired contrast that I talked about today. So Kimbrelia, I'm not positive I'll be doing a webinar. I'm still working on that, but if not this week, definitely soon, because I have not only Switch It that I want to share with you guys, but Read It and Sort It. Okay, Andrew says we're still on. Thank you, guys. All right, well, I am not seeing any other questions. Oh, one is from Laura. She says her student completed the assessment and we did 1 list. Okay, you were surprised she did so well with switching the beginning sound, but struggled with the ending sound switching. She caught on and did well with the support. I may have begun on a list too easy. I need to switch out more vowels. Okay, good learnings. That's super. So that's one of the things that's so exciting about Switch It is that you learn a lot about what your student needs, and each day you just learn so much that you're able to increase the challenge. That's how we're able to accelerate our students' reading achievement, because of that great diagnostic information. So, you know, that sounds perfect, Laura. You took exactly the same learnings that I would probably take as well, and so way to go. Well, I think I'm going to tune out now. Thank you guys for being here. If you haven't already joined this challenge, I encourage you to find the link in the post, either up or down, I'm not sure. That will send you to a free sign up where you can get the materials that we have so that you can do all you need to do to try Switch It if you haven't gotten started. And also, it will get you into our free private Facebook group so you can share your results. I will be in there daily giving feedback, so you're not on your own. This is like 24/7, well, I will sleep, but nearly 24/7 support. So I'm really excited to help you guys so you can see how you can accelerate your students' reading achievement and save some time. And Kimbrelia asked, where can she get the assessment? If you if you sign up, there should be a link in the email to go into our private Facebook group, Level Up Your Readers' Achievement in the next 5 days. Once you're in the Facebook group, near the header at the top of the Facebook page, there's a tab that says Files. In Files, you'll find these 2 things, including the assessment. Danielle, thanks for all the love. I love those little emojis. Okay, you guys, see you tomorrow for day 3 when we're going to be having a new tip. Lisa, thank you. I'm glad you're here again. Bye-bye.